If you are coming from tech field, so you have to do a mix and match of both. It should be general storytelling. As there was a firm, and then I lost my parents at an early age, like I was 17. Then the partners took the business.
Hello, Megha ji. Very glad to have you on my People of LinkedIn podcast. We have known each other because we had worked together for fitness and we had met through one of my college juniors. And you're one of the most resilient and one of the most successful people I know personally. So we'd love to know something about your journey and how did you end up being the CEO of India's first developer relations community?
Okay. So thank you, Sarajji, for having me here. Thank you for saying so many good things about me. And yes, we have been part of a fitness journey together. And how I became the founder of first DevRel startup is because I had that dream and I had that idea in my mind. I just started trying and it actually started working. So that is where I have been. And yeah, we can go on and you can ask me more questions, which I can try to answer as much as I know.
Sure. So I want to start with, rewinding a little back further into your past and how was your upbringing and what college did you go to and how did you end up from there to going into Microsoft and Apple and such big companies? And then from there, tell us why did you leave that and become a CEO of a new generation startup?
So my bringing up has been very different. I was always brought up like a boy, or you can say tomboy. I was a single child. I was born to someone who was running his business. Like my dad had a business, and he was into mechanical engineering. So there was a firm, and then I lost my parents at an early age. Like I was 17 then. The partners took the business, and I was brought up after that. I was brought up by my grandparents. My grandmother had a very positive influence on me because she was an educated female. She graduated in English honors from LSR, Lady Shri Ram College.
Okay.
I mean, in 1950s, 60s, it's a very big thing to have, education for a female.
For a woman, yes.
Right. Yeah, and she was working at MTNL as well. In fact, she retired as a superintendent. So I've seen her sitting at a desk, and then other people are sitting in corridors, and people are reporting into her. And she used to take me to her office as well. So there was a lot of positive influence, where females can be decision makers, females can speak up, and you have to speak up. Age doesn't matter. If you feel other person is wrong, you can speak up. So that is my bringing up. And then after losing my parents, my grandmother taught me driving, biking, everything I wanted to do as an individual. I was given exposure to because she wanted me to be able to survive even if I am alone. And that is what happened because my grandfather left to the US after I got jobs. I had a couple of offers. I joined Samsung in Bangalore, and I was all alone in India for a couple of years. So I managed, and then from Samsung, I moved to Make My Trip. In Make My Trip, I started my own PG also because I had my ancestral home in Delhi, but staying alone as a female in Delhi was really, really, it was unsafe. It was a bit unsafe, or we used to feel like that. And I remember at that time Nirbhaya Kand that happened, and when I moved to Make My Trip, I started my own PG. So,
So when you say you mean you started renting out the houses in your
renting out, subletting the house, yes.
Okay.
And then I was managing the food as well. So that is where my first business stint. It was a small thing. It was for survival. So when I say survival, it doesn't mean money. But it means like
Security.
Companionship and security, yes. So that brought some business sense into me, as well as how to be independent alone and how to be safe, how to tackle issues if anything crops up. So that brought the resilience and grit into me. And after that, I just kept moving forward. Like I have to earn more, I have to grow more. So that hunger was in within me because of my grandparents as well as my parents, and then I just kept moving forward, and I went to a consulting company, Sapient Global Markets, because I was always of the thought I should do an MBA. And I also got a few admits, but then I decided, oh, this is a lot of money. I should earn this much money. Then I got through Microsoft. I was just preparing through our normal things like you should be a better coder and problem solver. I did a little bit of data structures algorithms as well as low-level design, some low-level design principles, and then I got through Microsoft. After Microsoft, I changed. I was like beaten, changed into someone else. Like when I say beaten, it's not little beating. It's like changed into someone else, and I grew a lot. I became a learn it all kind of personality that it's so you can never know it all, and you have to keep learning every single day. And everyone you meet, doesn't matter what their designation. I think you also have written that in your post multiple times. Doesn't matter if they're younger or elder, you have to learn something from everyone. So that is what came into me. And Microsoft, I took one promotion, and then after that I moved to Apple. I took a 2 designation jump there because I was like, I have to become a lead now. I am so grown up for this SDV2 now. So the growth started a little later. In between that, I also got married. Because of marriage, there was a little stability that came into my life. I got a very good partner. He's very, very encouraging, just like my parents and grandparents. So he's like, he lets me speak up. He lets me take the lead at times. So that is where I started growing. And after Apple, I got into MongoDB, again, a few designations jump. And I was then hired as the first one to lead developer advocacy for a pack. And like first I was alone, and then I formed a team, 1 person in Singapore, 1 person in India reporting into me. And post that, I decided, why can't I just take it out as a consulting? And then I decided, why can't we have a product to give the metrics? So I registered one LLP, which is like a consulting business, working with some clients, working with some people in content, formed an engineering team for the product, started it in stealth, now registering my another private limited company for the product. So that is where I am. I had these problems as a DevRel, where I faced a few issues, both on the services front, like how we deal with it, and both on the metrics as well as antics. So those are the problems I'm trying to solve. Nothing fancy. Did not think that it'll churn a lot of money. It will generate a lot of income. I was always thinking that we have to solve this problem, and then how to target a larger market. Then I thought of different ideas that should come into it, and now I'm preparing to launch a MVP of that product. We are still working 70% there, and making a product backlog. So learning product management, then being an HR recruiter. So juggling a lot of hats and just moving on. This is my journey till here. I am not sure if we'll be very successful or not, but yeah, I'm enjoying the journey. I'm really enjoying the journey of after I started this, and I took that decision to quit and starting. It was a very difficult decision. I took it, and then I was like, oh my God, what have I done? And because I broke my golden handcuffs. But after that, a couple of months, when I started hiring my team, and now we have like 10 plus people working with us. Some are full time, some are interns, some are freelancers. The faith they have in the product or in the business model is, it keeps giving me back the faith, and I just keep moving on. So that is where.
Brilliant. That's beautifully explained journey, and very excited for the growth of DevRel Squad. So from your story, a lot of things stand out to me. First thing is, how did you manage to, so a lot of people from, let's say, a tier 3 college, right? They sort of have a feeling that they may not be able to make it to the top companies, or forget about founding a company which employs or works with the top companies, right? So what is it that gave you that confidence to break out of that, and how did you do it?
So I never thought that I'm from a tier 3 college, because I started my career with Samsung, and I was always, in companies of NITians and IITians. So somehow I got that exposure from the very beginning, and they started telling me, "Oh, you did not read this, you did not read that." And then I used to go for interviewing, and I used to make my interview friends. At that time, we did not have meetups, conferences that much in India, So I was like networking everywhere. Wherever I would go, I would ask something. Okay, we have to read this as well. So I never thought that I am lacking something. I was always of the thought, instead of, thinking I'm lacking something, I always had the thought, oh, I have to do so much more. Oh, I have to do so much more. That is where I think one of the biggest advantages or, one of the biggest strengths of mine. And then Microsoft also, I learned the same thing. And that is where I think I did not think about my disadvantages.
Right. Basically, you're saying that it doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter where you're from. It only matters how much you're willing to work and learn and build up yourself.
Absolutely. You being from an IIT, I being from a tier 3, how did I reach you? Just through my, skill of networking. So I think IITs have a very, very good network, and they put a lot of exposure out to every kid that gets into IIT. Tier 3, we don't get that kind of exposure. But if someone is hungry and someone, tries to reach out to people, I have never seen an IIT and an IITian saying, no, okay, you are from tier 3, I'll not talk to you. They will help you.
Yeah, true. So how was your experience like compared to working in a man company versus other companies and the current company that you're running?
The man company or service company or my current company?
Yeah.
Okay. So since I've worked, my major experience comes from man because Microsoft was my longest tenure. And then Apple and then Mongo also I will consider a good product company because they also have that kind of culture. So I think I have seen some companies where they're like, you should do whatever we are telling you to, like the senior hierarchical culture, wherein the senior will tell you something and you have to do like that. And some companies will say directly, we have hired you to think, brainstorm out with us. Yes. So that is what the difference. And I'm trying to carry the things here. Little bit of dictatorship at times when otherwise mostly man culture, that you are hired to think, trust in me, have faith in me, but you are allowed to ask me questions, and people do that. I have people from IIIT working for me, IIT Kharagpur, and some other good colleges such as DY Patil. Most of my people are from DY Patil. One person came in and they referred other, and I have the huge pool from DY Patil. So these people ask me questions. They are giving me orders that you should do this. You are not doing this. I am so happy that yes, you tell me this. Same with my content team. I tell them I don't know what kind of music will suit with my reels. So you tell me what works. And maybe you can experiment a little bit. And then we keep on growing. We experiment. And that is how I work with my team. So I've got a little bit of both service and product, but I prefer Mango and product culture more, where people are hired to think. They should ask questions. They should be as attached as you are as a founder to the vision, so that they are not working just for, one task. They're thinking 2 steps back, 2 steps ahead or something like that.
Right. That's exactly the kind of culture that needs to be in a good organization, and glad to see that you're building that. So now let's switch gears and talk more about LinkedIn and why you had started there and your phenomenal growth from. I've seen you start with about 12,000 and now you're at almost 40,000. So why did you start on LinkedIn? I think that was your first platform, social media, right? If I'm not wrong.
Yes.
Start there, and then how did you find that as a platform, and how did you grow so much? First, let's answer, why did you start there?
Okay, I did not know of any social professional platform apart from LinkedIn when I started, and I used to get these opportunities. Like when I was with Sapient, Microsoft reached me through LinkedIn, and then Apple also reached me through LinkedIn. MongoDB also reached me through LinkedIn. So that is one of the things I started posting about my, learnings or any kind of stories in tech or in professional life on LinkedIn, and that is how I started. And when I jumped from Microsoft to Apple, I just organically gained a lot of followers, and then when I moved to Modibi, I was doing a lot of meetups, conferences, used to meet people. Again, that organic growth came in, and I did not do a lot of hiring someone and doing something very religiously. I was on and off on LinkedIn, but it was very organic for me. And then I tried hiring someone, and they impersonating as me, writing some content, commenting, but it did not work out that well.
Okay.
So I decided that whatever I write, even if I write like 2 days in a week, it will
Just
be
write
me.
it yourself.
Yeah, I write myself. I take help from ChatGPT, and
Yeah.
then I take it to Grammarly. I'm actually spilling the beans of what I do. I have some ideas. I talk to ChatGPT very often. ChatGPT knows a lot about me, which is like public data, not my I don't share my credit card pins or PIN, which I but yeah. So it talks. It has memory, and I give it an idea, and then so basically I reiterate with ChatGPT, write something, and then I take it to Grammarly, do a page and AI check, and reword it a bit, and then I post it.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. Okay.
Yeah, that is what I do. And I like sharing about my life, because my message is not to, demean anyone or show brag about myself. Obviously, I'm a Punjabi. I like, bragging comes naturally to us, but I am not. My intention is to show people, if I can do it with such and such backdrop, you can do it too. So that is where I keep sharing.
Beautiful. But do you have any specific tips for, first with LinkedIn creators who are only making software related content, and then general LinkedIn tips?
I think we need to do a mix and match of both. If you are coming from tech field, so you have to do a mix and match of both. It should be general storytelling as well as some kind of tech content which adds value to your reader, as well as you. So problem with me was I was juggling through a lot of things, and then I will post anything any day. So I am trying to control that in me. You should be consistent, but you should not confuse your audience as well. So you have to have a balance of both. You should be consistent, and which I'm working on. And second thing is you should basically try to have only a few content pillars, so that your audience is not getting confused, and you should add value to them. You should tell them a story, or discuss failures, or talk something about tech, which will tell them, okay, this is a new thing, and they get some value after reading that. It should not be just like, okay, you're seeing something and they are not getting any value out of that.
What you mentioned about failure is very true, right? I think one of the most evergreen stories is how somebody, started off as an underdog, and then they rose up the ladder, and then now they are successful, which is your story as well. So that strikes a chord always, right? Whenever you write about it, I'm sure it will do really well. So was that something which contributed a lot to success, do you feel?
I think I gained a lot of followers organically, but yes, I have very openly written about my failures also. I've written about losing my parents. I've written about losing my grandmother, and then years back again losing my grandfather as well. So I've been very open. I have very vocally voiced out how my husband entering my life changed my life, and how he has been a very supportive and a very different kind of. I have spoken to to a lot of females, not only married but unmarried, and they have come up to me asking me, how did you do so many switches? How are you doing such and such after getting married? How are you traveling after getting married?
Okay.
Not only males is fine, but females are asking me such questions.
Right.
That's where I think I have been very vocal about failures, about these kind of things, and that's where, yes, it does lead to growth when you are talking about your failures, because people can relate to the failures more.
Absolutely, because the first LinkedIn viral post that I had was about not getting a job after IIT, and then doing recently well after. That was the first post which did really well, and it struck me that after that I realized that failing in life is actually very important.
Yes,
consistently succeeding in life, okay, but the failure is what actually teaches you a lot deeper life lessons, and it gives a lot more perspective on life. Without failure, the person tends to become more egoistic, complacent, taking things lightly. A lot of things don't come easily when you have simple, like especially right, like cracking something like IIT makes you very egoistic. A lot of people tend to become, clouded by that success, sort of in quotes, but that also tends to make them a little bit difficult to talk to. They don't, they're not very approachable sometimes. Yeah, there are problems to being successful, but there are a lot of pros to being somewhat of a failure sometimes.
Absolutely. I think failures are learnings. If you reword failures as learnings on your dictionary, it is like a total different perspective. I have had failures already in my startup, fired so many people, working with interns, freelancers. It's been a hell of a journey. Some freelancers were like a pain in the ass to work with. And sorry about my language, but yes. And some people are real gems. And for some people, because they bring something very unique to the table, I also adjust and they also adjust. So that is all. Like some people are Gen Z, especially they wake up very late.
Okay.
So not say that post at this time on LinkedIn. So maybe you can have a different person for posting, but the content they do is very, very unique and you really like it. So that's where you take a step forward. They also take a step forward. And yeah. So one of my freelancers, she started waking up early because of joining me, and her mother was very happy that because of, and I did not force her, like I did not impose that on her, but just like I used to tell her that what are the benefits of waking up early, and then she started waking up early. But still, she is not someone who can post like dot on time. So we have one other person helping her for that, but she's very good with the content. So I'm just giving you one example. Earlier, the person I used to be, I would like just shout or, I'll not like that person, I'll fire them. But I am doing an extra mile. Yeah, I am also changing myself. I have reduced, how I used to get. Also, when I started up, it's like so many things were there and I was not able to totally manage. And then I was also always in a mess. So that's how it happened. But then we slowly and steadily formed a few processes, started tasking out. Then now a few things are on autopilot, and we have also learned to work with each other. So that is where I have also reduced, my pitch, and the way I give feedback has to be very critical. So I had learned it in the past, but then as a startup, again I relearned a lot of things, and that is how I was able to. So I've had a lot of failures. I lost a good amount of people. I mean, they were really good, and I could have worked things with them. But I got another people. Like that is one thing. The beauty of Indian economy or Indian developer ecosystem or Indian ecosystem is that you can hire so many people, because once you have a good network, once you have good LinkedIn followership, you can easily hire people. So engineering, I never fired anyone. Engineering people were different. I used to work very differently with them, but content was something which was like first time I was handling content. So that is where I learned a lot. I learned how to adjust with Gen Z, and how to make them accountable, how to give them ownership without, fighting with them or shouting at them, and being very critical in your feedback. Like it shouldn't be that I'm giving a feedback after a month or a week. It should be like every day I'm telling them, okay, this, and these are the good, these are the bad things. But really, you are really, really good at valuing them for the things, unique things they bring to the table, and also giving them feedback that if you do it this way, it would be better. And these are the data. But now we are like experimenting. Okay, I'll show you if we do this, there's no growth. If we do this, we have growth. So something like that. And I'm also learning, they're also learning. But engineering team, since I had led a few engineering teams in the past, managed, so that was okay.
Don't handle that already.
Yes, that was fine. Nobody was fired from engineering. But on the content, I had a lot of challenges. Apart from that, I gave the consulting strategy to a good company. They're still using my strategy. They're still reading through documents. But they did not hire me. Yeah, I want to say that there are pros and cons to these strategies. Some people really caution that you should go deep in one thing and you should not diversify. but I believe in a V. So you would know with like basically ikigai. One thing is you are passionate about something, and then second is you should be good at that. So I am trying to find combinations of top 2, 3 things where I feel good. I don't feel I'm working, and then also I am good at.
Absolutely. That is the golden circle that you need to find it, because I am, when I work with clients or when I teach people, when I educate people, I don't feel like I'm working at all. So that's sort of something which I feel like I should continue to do, because it's not really work for me. I just do it because I like it, and I'm making some money out of it. Yeah, that's great.
Yes.
So last question. What are the tips for women in tech for them to eventually become a CEO like you if they want to?
Okay, I think I would just say that you have to be a little more confident than the other people. I'll say males, because males, sorry to, I'm not, not in an offensive way, but as a factual way, males will speak out their mind if they are only like even 60 to 70% confident. But females need at least 90% confidence to speak out their mind. Most of the cases, like it's a fact done, it came out of some surveys. I've read it somewhere multiple times. I've read it to multiple sources. So I think people have to start speaking up. They have to think, even if they're wrong, it's okay, and nobody is going to judge them. Even if someone is going to judge them, it's okay that they are not going to be dependent on those people who are judging them. So it's okay to fail, it's okay to be laughed at, it's okay to be vulnerable. So I think if females learn how to be vulnerable, they can do a lot of more things, because females are good at multitasking, and this is also proven fact. So they think
and they are better with people as well. Their emotional intelligence and people skills are generally better.
Yes. So EQ is generally better. I agree on that. I think the only point is that females are usually brought up like a princess. You should not hurt yourself. You should not go out. You should not do anything wrong. You should be very safe. That is where you have to break that barrier. Be a little more vulnerable. There are lesser role models for females, but find role models globally also. That would work, and then you can, being a CEO is one thing, doing whatever you really like or you want to, that is the
main thing. Yeah. I think you will definitely be a big role model for all the upcoming women in tech. And I really hope and pray that Devil's Squad is going to be a big success coming forward, and seeing your stories in your story, and maybe with Shraddha Sharma, and like seeing your podcast on that, hoping for something like that.
Thank you so much. Hoping for the best, and I hope you the success as well, because you have also started your journey as a co-founder of Corporate Ladder. And maybe I'll call you on my podcast to cover your journey and how you became a co-founder, and your IIT journey also. And what I like about you is you always, you tell that, okay, IIT gave me a little bit of overconfidence, and then I was a little shadowed and became complacent. You are very open about telling that, and then how you faced and how you grew at Byju's, and then you reached here and you found your passion, that okay, while fitness training. I can relate, because when I'm planning for meetups, they tell me, Megha, we have 5 days, can we plan a meetup? Yeah, we will do. I am finding the speaker. We do let's just roll it out. If we have some 200 RSVPs, 100 people turn up easily, and I can feel. I mean, I understand. I don't feel that that is work.
Yeah.
I'm just it's just comes naturally to
Naturally.
Yeah. So I understand totally, and I relate, and I will call you to my podcast to know your side of story.
Sure, absolutely, we'll do with that. Thank you. Thanks a lot for being on the podcast. We'll see you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for having me.